Hello there, warriors. Here we are, another episode of Brave, Bold, Unfiltered. And in this series I'm doing called Burn the Map, I'm really going through the concepts, some of the stories, the thoughts, the wisdom, the perspective that's included in my book, Burn the Map. And it's really cool because I have stories of other people too, little snippets. I know for a fact you would see yourself in so many of the situations or just relate to or be inspired by the concepts and the stories in this book. So I hope you get the book. But either way, we're going to keep right on going in this podcast episode. I hope you're subscribed to my YouTube channel if you're watching, or to wherever you get your podcasts so you get notification on upcoming episodes. After I'm done with this series, by the way, I've got something else I'm going to start doing. I'm going to start doing little short snippets too. So you won't want to miss any of that. So make sure you're subscribed. And also subscribe to my email, ValerieSilveira.com. You can go there and you can sign up to get my emails. So this is chapter 6, and it's called The Storms That Shape Us. This is a really different chapter than a lot of them in the book. And this one, what I decided to do is it's a really analogous chapter, I guess I would say. So the reason I call it The Storms That Shape Us is I started thinking about weather patterns and storms and when Mother Nature gets really ticked off, right? And how we can kind of look at what happens in our lives in those ways. So, no matter how much we plan, no matter how much we prepare, no matter how much we think we're going to have our lives all figured out, as we've been talking about in this series, and I talk about a lot throughout this book, sometimes life just happens. I mean, it just happens. And there are 4 different ways it can happen. The first one I called no warning, all impact. And that is earthquakes. If you've ever been through an earthquake, it is, I call it 45 seconds of devastation. It is that thing that, all of a sudden your entire house is shaking. So it reminds me of a story that I think Jamie and Sean were both in middle school, or one was in elementary school and one was in middle school. I don't remember. They were in 2 different schools. And there was an earthquake. And it was really weird. I had been golfing that morning, and then I was drying my hair, and all of a sudden the power went out. And at the same time, the house started shaking. The walls were shaking, and it was loud. And I've been through a few of them because I was born and raised in the Seattle area. And so I've been through a few that were kind of rock and rollers, right? That was one of the biggest ones. And when the power went out, I just thought, oh no. I couldn't, what's going on? This could be serious. So I got in my car and I raced from school to school to retrieve my kids. Well, Rich was in Japan on a business trip, and he's just getting up in the morning or whatever time it was there. I don't remember the time difference, but he turns on the TV, and whatever channel this was, it sounded like Seattle was in ruins. That was basically, how the news is. And so what was weird about it is we lived in this little town called Issaquah, and it's on the east side. A lot of people have heard of Redmond because that's where Microsoft is. So it's kind of, close to that area. And so it was a small town. And there was this building that had just kind of, part of it had crumbled. And Rich sees Issaquah, right? Our house, our address was Bellevue, but we were kind of like on the kind of, I don't know how we got situated there with our address, but so Bellevue's a bigger town, but this Issaquah is small. So Rich is looking at that going, what? Well, if they're showing this on the news, this has got to be serious. The next thing they showed was a bunch of brick on the streets of Seattle, right by Rich's office. Well, it turned out to be just the facade had come down and it was no big deal. But when Rich sees those 2 things, he's thinking this is terrible and he can't get through to us. No phone service. So imagine how he's sitting there going, oh my gosh, this is the end, right? This is that 45 seconds of devastation I talk about. But of course, it wasn't that, and everything turned out to be okay. But have you ever had anything like that in your life happen? Like it's that panic, that devastation that happens just like that news that just rocks your world and shakes you to the core. So we can't always see this stuff coming, like earthquakes. I mean, they just come out of nowhere. But the only thing you can do then is build from it. Use the experience. I talked a couple of episodes ago about that in Mastering the Warrior Mindset. Just use this. Figure out how to build something from whatever has happened to you. The chaos you never saw coming. This one is about tornadoes. So, wait. Oh, gosh. Sorry. Got myself out of order. Got myself so excited here. Got myself out of order. The next one is called The Ones We See Coming. Now, so this is about those things in your life that you kind of saw coming, right? Maybe you ignored it. You didn't want to believe it. And those are hurricanes. I don't know if you've ever lived through a hurricane, but Rich and I lived for about 4 years on this little island in the bay, in the bay off of Miami in Florida called Key Biscayne. And so when a hurricane's headed that way, it's kind of like the first point of evacuation because it's a little island. And what happens is they shut down the bridge and you can't get onto the mainland. If you don't evacuate when they tell you to evacuate and you decide to stay, there's no one's coming to help you. So it's kind of serious, right? So we had this one hurricane, excuse me, we had this one hurricane warning where all that happened. It was like, we're going to have to get off the island, but then it changed course. That's the thing about hurricanes. You get a lot of warning. I mean, as devastating as they are, you actually get a lot of warning. And so there was another hurricane that I talked about in the book, but that was it turned into a tropical storm. I mean, literally the hurricane warning was canceled just at the last minute, but it was so weird because we had to close our shutters and it was still light outside. We had to close all the shutters. You have to bring everything from outside indoors because that's really what causes problems is things flying around. And then you just sit in there and you listen and you just hear, what's going on. You can hear just the wind and stuff and a few things flying around that nobody, took inside. And then when it's over, you just open up your shutters and see the damage. And isn't that like some of the situations in our lives where, like I said, we see it coming and we don't alter our course. We don't get out of the way. We don't, get to safety. We don't close those shutters. And I'm not saying, well, too bad, you saw it coming. But, that gift of time, I feel like if you're in a situation that you could change, you should do it. If it's not a good situation and it's something that you can make a choice because you kind of see this disaster on the horizon, I really recommend strongly that you do that. The next one is the tornadoes. Now, I've never lived through a tornado, thank God. Those are also, can be that 45 seconds of devastation. I don't know how long, but that same kind of thing. But a tornado is like the sneak attack, isn't it? Right? It's really the opposite of the hurricane that has all this warning. So you have this tornado that just whips through and just messes up your life. And some of us have experienced things like that. I would say that Jamie's addiction was like this. It was a tornado that hit, and then it turned into something that I'm going to talk about next, the last one. And it turned into that smoldering fire. I did watch it was a home renovation show, and it's filmed in Arkansas. And they had this episode where they showed where this tree had landed on this house, right where the kids had been sitting just minutes before. And I know that they can sometimes those tornadoes they know there's a tornado warning, but sometimes, man, they just come out of nowhere. It's terrifying. I mean, it's painful. It's scary. But if you're in that same kind of terrifying situation like that, just remember that if life has beat you up like that, like a tornado, like a hurricane, like an earthquake, you're still here. You're still breathing. And if you are, and you allow yourself to be taken down by any of these storms, that's really a sad thing. Because you're still here and because you still have a chance, you can make something of your life no matter what has happened. I could never have imagined, my friends, that if I'd gone through everything that I'd been through with Jamie's addiction, forget her being shot when she was 18 or her being murdered, just that 15 years of chaos It was an earthquake, a tornado. It was, it was a hurricane, and it was also a wildfire, all in one. Never could have imagined making it through any of that. But I did. And I'm still here, and you're still here too. And that brings me to that last one. I call it the burn that keeps going. It's that smoldering. It's that the ashes, the fire that keeps raging. And we all saw the LA fires. I mean, wasn't that unbelievable? And they couldn't contain it. It just kept burning and burning and burning. And then afterwards, literally people were standing in the ashes wondering what to do next. And some people decided to rebuild and come back and I love that resilience. I'm going to rebuild right here. And other people said, no, this is not the place for me anymore. I don't want to be in the path of wildfires. So no matter what has happened, how it's happened, or how long it's been smoldering, we always have choices. We can decide what we do after the storm. So would you mind? I guess you can't answer me, can you? Go ahead and answer me in the YouTube comments if you minded. Sorry. I just want to read the last section of this chapter because I think it's the best way to close it out after the storm. Maybe you're reading this from inside your bunker, still reeling from the impact and wondering if the sun will ever break through. Perhaps you're rebuilding after a slow burn or learning to get back up after being knocked flat by a wave you never saw coming. The world may look different after the onslaught. Maybe you do too. No matter how unexpected or prolonged, every outburst offers more than calamity. It clears the clutter, strips away what you thought you needed, and sometimes what you thought you couldn't live without, and brings out the courageous warrior in you. Resilience isn't about bouncing back to where you were. It's about discovering who you are because of what you've survived. Plant new seeds in the ashes. Build dreams from the fragments with the hope still burning inside you. If the sky is still dark, hold on. If you're sitting in the fallout, look for what remains. If you're stepping into the unknown, remember, you've walked through storms you thought would take you out. You're not the same. You're stronger now. The storms tried to break you. They didn't. At the core of all of my messaging, at what I believe so strongly, and what is laced throughout the book, Burn the Map, is courage. Life is scary. It will batter us around. It will punch us right in the face. But deep inside, every single person is a warrior. You've proven courage throughout your life, even if it doesn't seem like it's a big deal. You have what it takes to survive any storm. You have what it takes to not just survive any storm. You have what it takes to stand up and fight for yourself, to fight for your future, to fight to be the best version of yourself possible, because that's the gift that we give to other people. Don't wait for every storm to pass. Don't wait for everything to be all rebuilt. Don't wait for everything to smooth out. That day might never come, my friend. Today is the day for you to decide that if your map has burned because of choices, because of circumstances, because of something that had nothing to do with you, just you became a victim of it, no matter how it happened, you can stand up and stand strong and take whatever happened to you forward. So don't think about it this way. Don't think, well, I'm going to go out and fight and be a better person in spite of. Despite what happened to me, I'm going to do it. No, you do it because you're a better person than you would have been had you not been through this. And I have a little snippet of that in the book and a conversation with my niece, Shawnee, that I'm going to be sharing in one of these episodes. And it's just so true. If this feels terrible, whatever you're going through, it's an opportunity. Until next week, I hope you have an awesome week. And what's coming up next week? Let me just give you a little snippet in case you don't have the book. Oh, this one's called Forged in the Fire. Perfect follow up to what we just talked about. I'll see you next week.